Dr. Ranjeet Mehta, to talk about these developments in a certain global context, one of course is the pandemic that has affected every sector, every aspect of economy. The second point, which we saw earlier last year, the ongoing trade war, the conflict between the United States and China, and the world relocating important manufacturing hub outside of China. In view of these two contexts, how do you see India's rise as a preferred manufacturing hub, and what opportunities does that present to the sector?
Thank you very much indeed. You rightly said that despite such an unprecedented pandemic that the world has seen, India has the ability to bounce back to become the second most favored manufacturing hub in the world. That is something which can see the prowess of Indian manufacturing, which the government has been working for last 7 years. And this is the result of we have paid the attention to the ease of doing business in last 7 years. When you look at in 2014, we were around 140 in ease of doing business. Today we stand at 63rd. So all these efforts have really paid dividend to India. Secondly, you rightly said that because of the trade war between China and America, especially in three sectors like pharma, chemical and engineering. These are the three sectors which have been affected most. And India during this pandemic has shown that it has become the vaccine hub of the world as well. So the government has been working a lot on these sectors. I think this news is extremely good as far as seeing the Indian manufacturing, and the kind of why it is happening is I would just stress on one or 2 points. Number one, the advantage in India is with 1.3 billion people, we have the large market. Any company which manufactures anything which comes here, they don't have to bother about the market. And secondly, the government of India, which has been working on supply chain, as Mr. Shenoy said, been working a lot on to create a resilient supply chain in our country, government efforts on these directions. So India is becoming very, very favorable destination. And third thing is this, we are a very young population. With the demographic dividend that we have, I think the young population and the cheap labor cost, these are the things which are making India a very favorable destination. And of late, the business environment has been very, very favorable, not only for other businesses, but also for startups. So the startup ecosystem has also improved tremendously. I think these, all factors together have really played a very significant role in this report, and which has been reflected significantly out here.
Dr. Ranjeet Mehta, number one position, as I mentioned, is occupied by China, and it's inevitable that we, come to a point where we talk about how do the two nations stack up. How do they compete with one another? One interesting area of comparison is also the quality of manufacturing output. China may have a massive manufacturing base, but in terms of quality, different reports suggest that India has that sort of confidence that it enjoys by global companies. On that front, how do you see the advantage that India has, and what about competition in other areas as far as manufacturing is concerned? Because we're neighbors and we're operating together.
I'm glad that Mr. Ghosh, you brought out this point. But before that, Mr. Shenoy talked about corporate taxes. Of course, I mean, today India is very attractive on corporate taxes. The corporate tax has been reduced from 30% to 25%. As Mr. Shenoy said, 15% for the companies who are beginning manufacturing for initial years. And secondly, you said that trust factor is very high. Trust factor of world or the world investors over India is very high if we compare with China. for that, the important factor is, number one, India is having a very stable political system, and very stable political system because today we have a democracy which is world's largest democracy, and secondly, our economic conditions are very good. If you look at our foreign exchange reserves on 31st of July, they are $612 billion. That means our economy is resilient to face any disruption from the global, events. So we are we have managed to have that. So this is a very good thing. And second thing is this, that our innovation capabilities. So we are a young population. Therefore, the technological intervention which has been made by the government in last few years has been really very praiseworthy. And our, Skill India program, which is we are getting trained people, which Mr. Shinoy was heading earlier on. So this Skill India focus has also given a trained manpower for the world, for India. Anybody who opens up their businesses for manufacturing units in India, they don't have any problem of trained manpower. And labor laws have been reformed in last 2-3 years. But still, as Mr. Gururaj has said, that he has never faced any labor problem. But of late, in the last so many years, we have not seen any such labor problem in India, which has become a problematic hindrance for any business. So therefore, all these things, including the cheap labor and market access from India, the government focused on creating the world-class infrastructure that the world is seeing. Whatever teething problems that we have in our supply chain, the government is trying its best. Cost of logistics in our country. So therefore, all these things, the kind of market conditions, and one more last point I would like to put here is, see, in around 7 years before, we were importing around 8 billion of these mobile phones, and it is only our manufacturing capability today that we are exporting $3 billion of mobile phones. That is a very, very significant point. So therefore, there has been a significant progress in our market conditions, in our business environment, economic conditions. Political scenario is absolutely favorable. The GST regime has brought the cost of doing business also, it has come down, but definitely there are few points. If we want to come at the number one spot, then we have to look at maybe some of the some of the areas where the cost of business, it is not only the ease of doing business, but also the cost of doing business in the country needs to come down in terms of the regulatory issues and other things. But of late, we have seen that while India is turning from agrarian to service sector also, because economy is moving in such a fast space, I think that we have made tremendous progress in our regulatory processes. But this is an ongoing system where government is doing its best. I'm sure that if you can come from 140 to around 63rd in ease of doing business, and we plan to be around 50, even less than 15 times progress in our regulatory processes. But this is an ongoing system where government is doing its best. I'm sure that if you can come from 140 to around 63rd in ease of doing business, and we plan to be around 50, even less than 15 times to come. So I see no reason why we can't be world's #1 most favored manufacturing destination.
Right.
No doubt about it.
Right. Dilip,